Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. We'll give it just a couple minutes for a few more people to join us, but thank all of you that were already waiting in the room and joined us right on time. We'll give it just a minute or two to allow those last minute folks to join us. We've got a good group already coming in, so it should be a great day. I'll go ahead and start sharing, and then I'll kick us off here in just a moment. All right, let me go ahead and get us started. We are recording today's session, so anyone we'll send it out to individuals who were able to attend and those who were not able to attend but did register. We'll send this out after the fact. But thank you again, everyone, for joining us. We are doing a NEFA after hours event. We obviously many of you probably came from that event a couple weeks ago. Um, and we just had we had a lot of good conversations, a lot of good feedback, and a lot of excitement about where the market is going, and certainly what we're doing here at Uptick to really revolutionize the equipment finance space. So we wanted to put this group together and just kind of have an open forum and share to you guys what we're working on, give you an idea of where we're going, where we're at today, and all those things. So first, let me just do a quick intro of myself. My name is Jay Richardson. I'm sure I've probably met some of you out there, maybe even at the conference in Huntington Beach. I am our GM here for our non-bank and fintech verticals inside of Uptick. We are based out of Austin, Texas. We've been around for a little over 4 years now, and constantly evolving as the space obviously continues to do so, and AI being such a buzzword and a hot topic for everybody to discuss on a daily basis, probably multiple times every day at this point. We really want to kind of bring it together and really kind of relay some of the conversations we were able to have with individuals and different groups coming out of the conference. So today, just to kind of set the agenda and give you an expectation of what we're going to run through, I'm going to talk about. I'm actually going to start out with a few slides, kind of recapping what we discussed with many groups in Huntington Beach, give you a semblance of kind of how we address those things and how we think about them here from the Uptick side, and then I'll do a few slides just kind of giving you a better understanding of who we are holistically, especially related to the equipment financing and leasing space, what we're doing there and kind of where we're taking this market. And then we will spend probably, 15, 20, 25 minutes, something like that, actually showing you our solution today. Obviously, we won't be able to show every aspect of the solution. So I anticipate that many of you will want to see a deeper dive. So obviously, as a follow up, we can set those up and kind of give you some one on one time to look at the solution at a much deeper level. So again, thanks everyone for joining. Let me go ahead and jump right into some of the slides that we've prepared today. So the first slide here is really talking about a lot of the conversations we had, right? Across the conversations at Huntington Beach, five themes really kind of kept emerging consistently. And Goggin, who is also joining us from the Uptick, he and I were both there, at Huntington Beach, and both of us had many of these conversations, whether it was together or kind of side conversations. So definitely, there's a signaling of a clear shift how the equipment finance marketing is approaching AI and automation. Kind of the five things that came out was AI interest is real. The hype is over. Operations are the bottleneck in many cases, not always, but in many cases. Trust matters most, and teams need the how. I think we have really kind of pushed ourselves forward at this point that it's not the conversations are no longer should I be using AI, it's how should I be using AI. So let me just break all these down. So the AI interest is real. The market has moved from curiosity to urgency. These are the conversations we were having over and over. Lenders are no longer asking whether to explore AI, they're asking how to act. The hype is over, right? Lenders now want practical, measurable use cases, not theoretical potential or vendor promises. And when I say lenders, this is applicable to both the broker side of the house and the lenders, right? There's a lot of that crossover from a need perspective. Operations are the bottleneck. Again, not to call out operations, but it's more about the manual tactical processes, not necessarily teams. But most delays still live in documentation, handoffs, and manual review, not credit decisions. Usually that's not the bottleneck. It's all that getting to that level. Trust matters most, right? This was a common conversation that we were having is one, it needs to work. Two, it needs to be accurate. And three, I've got to be able to trust it, right? If I'm bringing this into my org and I know that I see the benefit, I see how it can help kind of take away all these manual processes, I have to trust it and I have to get my entire team to trust it. So if outputs aren't accurate, explainable, and audit ready, very important, adoption stops regardless of the capability or kind of the vision of what it can be. So that and then I'll just readdress that the how instead of if. I think we've made that transition at this point. It's not what AI is, but exactly how it works inside of equipment finance workflow, step by step. So there's some of the things we'll talk about today. But this was actually, there was probably three or four different conversations that I personally was having in Huntington Beach. Completely, one conversation was away from the other. And the same thing was permeating that the market is ready for automation, but it has to be applicable to the real world. So this is kind of where we've evolved, I think, right? As many of us know the market well from, 18 months ago to 12 months ago to where we're at today, the equipment finance AI landscape has undergone a fundamental transformation. What began as cautious experimentation, has evolved into a clear demand for production-ready, trustworthy solutions. 18 months ago, AI was kind of exploratory in nature, right? Mostly pilots and experiments. Lender confidence was limited and budgets were small. Then we started to make the transition about a year ago. Interest continued to increase meaningfully. Point solutions entered the market, but questions around accuracy and reliability remained unresolved. Now where we're at today, we're, over the last 6 months leading up into, Q2 of 2026, what are we looking at? Buyers want production ready solutions with trusted outputs, seamless workflow integration, and fast demonstrable ROI. One thing I'll call out there is the seamless workflow integration, right? There's kind of looking back at the 12 months when all these point solutions were popping up. Point solutions in general do something pretty well, but where do they go after they do that something pretty well? And then oftentimes we see that the workflow breaks, right? There's not that seamless process, and oftentimes you still feel like you're working out of three or four or five different systems, and maybe you've created more complexity. Those are the things we think about daily here at Uptick, and how do we make this process from end to end truly a very smooth, workflow. So the conversation is no longer should we look at AI? It is now how do we implement AI safely and effectively? Next thing we'll talk about again, most of these things on these first few slides that I'm going over were from real life conversations of, with individuals at NEFA and members of NEFA and what they're looking for and what they're seeing. So conversations at NEFA made the priorities clear. Lenders aren't looking for AI for its own sake. They need specific operational capabilities that remove friction and accelerate decisions. We'll kind of break this down at a few different levels, which will lead us into kind of what the demo is going to showcase here in a few moments. Clean document intake. I think this is starting to become a little bit of table stakes at the end of the day, but it's the entry point at how all of this starts to operate correctly, accurately, audit worthy. But packages arrive in multiple formats and varying quality. We all know that, right? There's no standardization, or there's a lack of standardization of what's truly, what you're receiving on a daily basis. So teams need structured, validated files, organized and ready for review fast and accurate. That's going to kind of be a theme of today, right? Accurate financial analysis, financial spreading, statement review, data extraction, and collateral support done with precision and full auditability, right? As we all know how important that is. So we've got to have that audit trail and really be able to back what we're doing here. Faster underwriting, reduce time spent on preparation and assembly so underwriters can focus entirely on credit judgment and decision. Let's get rid of the manual as much as we can, the right way. Let's automate it safely, accurately, and get rid of that manual so that we can get you and your team to the actual decisioning part of the process faster, which will allow you to close more deals and be able to assess those deals in a more accurate manner, right? Be able to say yes more often if you want, or defend the reason you said no in a clearer path. Trusted data flow outputs must connect cleanly into LOS, CRM, servicing, and existing systems without manual reentries. Just what I was talking about. With a lot of point solutions, we can't create more of a bottleneck because now we have a more complex process from beginning to end. Those are the things we've really tried to streamline here at Uptick. And then the practical automation. This is what drives us on a daily basis, right? We're not just using these buzzwords of AI and automation and efficiency because they're great marketing terms. We're being very practical in our approach in doing so. So we're not looking to replace teams, right? And a lot of times that has a negative connotation from the AI perspective, but you got a lot of good people, right? It's not the intent here is not to let AI just replace the good people. It's to make the good people even more efficient and better at what they do by removing repetitive operational work so people focus on higher value activities. Look, the bottom line is this: the winners in equipment finance will combine human credit judgment with machine execution speed, making your good people better. A lot of that was the recap summary, giving you some insight into a lot of the conversations we have. I'm going to spend just a couple minutes and I'll speed this up a little bit because generally speaking, I'm not a big slide guy. And, as you guys have joined, all you've seen me do is share several slides. But I think all this is important, valuable, and really sets the context of what you're going to see today and how we think professionally about this market and have these conversations every day. So, how does Uptick address these things? How do we go about thinking about it on a daily basis? We really look at this as wedges, right? We talked about the doc intake kind of being the starter, if you will, the starter wedge of how we make this entire workflow more seamless. But it has to be intelligent document intake, right? Drag and drop style applications, packages with automated step categorization, smart file renaming, and instant data extraction from key documents, fully traceable to source. So those are the things that we're constantly working on to ensure as you're using them, you're getting this kind of benefit from it, right? It's not the most basic version of these things. Proprietary bank statement analysis, right? That's something that Uptick, is proud to be able to talk about. And it's our advanced transaction categorization, revenue validation, and risk flagging with manual overrides and policy-based exclusions for high-risk entities. Again, very thought-provoking and practical in how we're approaching this entire method. Integrated credit with KYC and KYB, seamless credit pulls. I think some of this is expected, but it's not always the case, right? Many of you have probably experienced this, maybe out there in the market, but we really try to make the seamless credit pulls, automated risk flag detection, comprehensive business verification, and clear borrower separation, all in one unified interface. That's probably the third central theme that I would add today is making this feel like it is a unified experience, no matter at what stage you drop in, right? Though we are modular based at our core, at the end of the day, you have the ability to say, hey, today I just need the doc intake, or I just need underwriting functionality, or I just need, insert your need here. You have that flexibility and ability with us. But no matter at what point you decide you want to drop in, you're going to get a unified, seamless experience. This is very key, right? We truly, as we talk about our solution here, it's truly built for equipment finance, and we don't look at the banking bloat and try to reconstruct. Unlike repurposed CRE platforms or generic banking workflows, Uptick is purpose built for equipment finance, from asset tracking to broker portal management. For example, in build equipment finance specific logic like serial number asset tracking and validation, titled versus non-titled decisioning workflows, invoice specific validation and verification, funding source conditional checklist, product level staging for EFA, lease, and loan structures, broker portal versioning with counter offer flows. What you'll uncover if you haven't started to have these conversations with the Uptick team is there's a lot of subject matter experts that live under our roof, right? Whether obviously today we're talking about equipment finance and leasing, but a lot of us come from a decade or longer background in this particular space. So we really have tried to take that into the product and the solution that we're talking about. So SOC 2 compliant, obviously there's security concerns out there in the broader market as a whole. Naturally, we take that very seriously. All right, we're working with financial data on a daily basis. So from that perspective, we have extremely high scrutiny. So security is something that we take very serious, and again, have an entire team dedicated to ensure that remains at the utmost importance from our side. I talked about this, so I'll run through this quickly. Again, uptick is modular based, right? It's not an all or nothing, and it's not a rip and replace. If you have aspects of your process or you have solutions that you're utilizing today that you know you want to keep on the go forward, by all means keep those, right? Whether it's your full, end to end or kind of more well-baked LOS. Obviously, if you in traditional institutions, if it's your core, your committee, your culture, keep all those things, right? And allow Uptick to come in and just really make this workflow seamless for you and improve the areas that you've probably identified, that could use some enhancing. We also encourage, I think this is a very important call out, right? Is with AI and automation and efficiency, I think oftentimes it gets forgotten, or maybe we just slightly overlook the fact that human in the loop needs to remain in the process, right? Though we are a kind of AI company at our core, we still talk about the human in the loop and how important that is in every decision that we make here at Uptick. It's grounded, it's audible, and it's explainable while underwriters stay fully in control. I would always tell you, and we look, the reality in today's world is we have some customers who have automated, 90+% of their process, but we would strongly suggest don't ever try to automate 100% of your process, right? And I think most of you are smart enough to know that, but grounded intelligence that we apply learns from your team's expertise, improving accuracy over time. Creates a continuous improvement cycle with every use. Underwriters retain full decision authority and built-in transparency and control ensure compliance and confidence. Click to see the data sources, override classifications, adjust offers, modify revenue calculations. There are plenty of places that human will remain in the loop of this process and should because you guys are the experts in your field. You do it all day, every day, and you shouldn't expect to remove that, as you work through this. Last thing I'll talk about, and then I'll turn it over and we'll actually start some of the solutioning today is our deployment is fast. I think, I liken this to kind of the Amazon effect. I oftentimes use that term and say, as consumers, we've come to realize that or expect really that, with a couple clicks of the button, I can buy something and it can be at my doorstep within hours or at least within 24 hours. So I think most of our expectations are that it needs to be fast. Again, we've talked about how accuracy and audibility are extremely important, but there's also this expectation that I want to if I decide on a solution and we've really scoped it out properly from your side and our side, what kind of speed can we look at truthfully standing this up? Again, going back to the modular basis of what are you looking to apply, but these are some real kind of expectations. We generally look at our projects in a phase one, two, and three approach, depending on the scope, and then really break that down of, okay, if we are looking at doc and bank agent, for example, and that doc intake and bank statement analysis, that's probably a 30 or 45-day process as long as both sides are committed. Right. I always want to caveat that is you guys are very busy. You're wearing 25 different hats. We don't expect you to always, be available to get this stood up. But if there is a willingness on both sides to do so, it can be a very quick process. And then as you can see, as we roll into phase two and three, if that's something you're looking to do, those timelines start to stretch out just because, obviously things are getting more complex and we want to set it up the right way from the beginning. Keynote, remember, modular based, AI at our core. It's not a rip and replace. It's where do you want to use it? At what stage? Where do you want these drop ins? And then start to build those win cases that not only you can obviously kind of prove to yourself and start to develop that trust factor, but that can permeate throughout your organization and lessens the change management and gets the buy in, at a much quicker rate. So those are the things we think about practically. So I'm going to stop there. Actually, yeah, okay. I've got one more slide, which just sets the context for Goggin as he is going to be showcasing our solution today. Again, we got a limited amount of time today, so even I'll call it out. Some of the things that I've got on the screen we may not get to today. We're going to try to get to as much as possible, but keep in mind this is really meant to be more of a showcase in kind of this group environment. And we've got a lot of attendees today, so we want to kind of hit on a lot of topics rather than go super deep. But for context, this demo is built around real equipment finance workflows, not generic AI showcases. Everything you'll see is designed to reflect the operational realities your teams face every day. In today's demo, again, most of these things, maybe not all today. Real document intake automation in action, clean workflow orchestration across lending steps, trusted explainable analysis outputs, underwriting acceleration and package preparation, and then how this fits into your current systems and tech stack. If relevant, as I mentioned before, and I anticipate this will be the case, if you want to have a much deeper dive, obviously as a follow-up, we can set that up and do that for you as well. So our goal, we have one goal today, which is show practical AI that works in equipment finance, not someday. Let's get into it. Gagan, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Jay. Appreciate the opportunity. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to start sharing my screen. If you're able to see it, just sharing it here. Let me know once you're able to see it.
We got it, Gagan. Yep.
Thank you so much. Well, I appreciate it. I think, Jay, as you set up the stage, what we'd like to do here is walk through our agentic LOS and modular solution for the equipment finance lenders. What you see here, what I'll walk through is a series of agents that are going to be working in a multi-agent orchestration across a single UX solution to process the loan through the life cycle. We'll be covering some stages, including the intake flow and the underwriting in a little more detail, and we can take it forward to go deeper when time permits. It's important to understand that these agentic solutions that you're going to see from a modular perspective can be plugged into existing systems. The way they have been put together is the UI layer that you would see now is doing the work of putting all of the agents together and allowing the exchange of information between the agents as we move through the process. That's what they're designed to do. You may not need all of our agents, but we can start with anyone that you prefer, and we can plug that into your system to help you leverage the agentic capabilities. What I'm going to do is give you a sneak peek of the overall UX view. What you'd see here is all the applications that have been set up as part of the LOS solution with different stages already earmarked. We have the intake flow, which does certain tasks to prepare the application, get the information from your customer or the broker. It would then pass on to the underwriting view where you do more deep dive analysis, financial statement analysis, credit checks, and then prepare it for the closing, where you do the closing process, be it an on-book funder or a broker who would sell down to different funders. So we have both those capabilities in here. What I'd like to do is start with the intake flow. Now, from an intake flow, this could be a link that can be posted on your website, can be integrated with your portal going out to dealers and brokers, which allows them to seamlessly pass on information to you. Now, this can be done one of two ways. As traditionally, portals would have a form that's digital form out there that people would type their information into, attach the documents if that capability exists, and send it out to you. What we'd show you here is how an agentic solution can take in an application, either manual typing or through a form that may already be in the hands of your broker or dealer. What I'm going to do is start with a unique email ID that I've just created here, and then I'm going to present the name of the company which is going to be borrowing. Now, these are some of the products that we have configured here. I'll quickly go and give you a peek of how the product is picked up. These products can be picked up from your existing system, can be brought in for the agent to allow the user to select. Or in our system, as you would see, we would allow the products to be configured and you could switch them on or off and provide various configurations that you would expect at the product level, including what you would see in the next step, the document intake, where you would specify what documents you would want the submitter to submit along with the application. So here what I've done is I've selected the product. I want it to be a non-titled workflow. As Jay mentioned, each different financial product can have its own workflow configured on the system with individual agents being called as needed. So I'm going to click on continue, and this will fire up the agent to have the user pick a choice, whether they have an uploaded app, they want to upload an application form that's pre-filled by the borrower, or they would want to just submit the application manually where they'll fill up the form. Let's try to use the agent. I'm going to upload the application form here. Now, what it does is it brings up the checklist that you saw on the product side. It allows the user to go and upload the documents that are required as part of the checklist. I'm just going to upload the application form. So I'm going to do the credit application. I'm going to select that here and let the agent read the credit application, verify that it is truly a credit application, not my selfie, and extract the information to be presented onto the form. So it's doing the job of taking that handwritten or printed application form and the consent provided by the borrower, and it's going to pre-fill the application form for us. While it does that, you can see how the manual process also works. Like I suggested, it's going to be a form that's brought up by the system, which you can type into manually. Similar UI, it just skips the agentic part, and this allows you to go and fill up the application. This is the standard out of the box. These can be updated as you need during the implementation lifecycle. Now the documentation has been parsed by the system. What I'm going to do is proceed and allow it to pre-fill my application for me. Going back to the UI here, I will allow you to see I can bulk upload all the documents that I need. So this would mean that I'm going to leverage the system to do the intelligent parsing of the documents for me. I can click this, open it, and in the background, it'll process, read the documents, and then put it in the right placeholder to be then passed on to the LOS system. Going back to the application, we are nearly done. It would read the application and fill out the form for me. And these are two different instances running in parallel, as you would see. We'll give it a moment. Underneath, what you would observe as we move forward is each of these agents is designed to understand a particular document, and then it categorizes and fills the information as the agent parses it once it reads the document. It's giving me notifications here that things are being successfully read. We can switch off the notifications. This is good for us to see during our demo standpoint. Now the documentation has been read, the information has been extracted. This allows, as Jay mentioned, the human in the loop to go and make any corrections. In case the agent is unable to identify something that was in a document, we have seen that happen in IDs, where while taking a picture, there's a flashlight, it covers the name, and you can't read the name, you can go ahead and fill that in. And if anything needs to be added that's not included in the application form, for example, nobody submitted a credit score, but I know that it is available, I know what percentage is, and I can provide this information, I can then go ahead and add that to the form and submit it forward. I'm going to now add the equipment details here. So I can go ahead and enter the details. I know who the seller is. I can provide the description. Now, all of these can be overridden by the equipment invoice when it is read, but I'm going to go ahead and add that to the application. Once I've completed the application, which was filled in using the handwritten application form, I can go ahead and submit it to the LOS. I would get the application number here, and the number has been given to me. It's 2761. I can go back to my system and look at the dashboard and all the applications, and I see 2761 right here. That application has made its way. Once you open the application, you would be able to see that the agent starts firing and reading the documents and providing you with some summary. Some of the summary is already here. We can default some of the things onto the application itself. For example, if we want something to be a standard rate to begin with, 12-month term to begin with, we can define that. We can switch that off. There are lots of configurable options available on the platform. The system is now starting to show me the application details. I have some information that I picked up, including the finance amount as I had done as default. and then the documents. Now, what the system is doing in the back is it's going to start reading the documents and applying AI analysis on them. All of this happens silently. So once the application is pushed in by your broker and supplier, and the system will start to kind of work on the documents even before you're notified. Once you go in, a lot of the work is already done. It would also go and pull some web searches. It will start pulling Safer, SOS, UCC, and you can decide which integration partners you would want to use. We have a host of integrations already available out of the box. All you need to do is sign up and use the keys to start using those services. As you've seen, the Safer has been pulled for this. It's all happening in parallel in the background. I don't need to push a button. The analysis will continue. It's given me some warnings, which will satisfy as we move forward. This is to keep me in tap and help me understand that there are certain things I need to resolve as I move forward. Now, since I've just submitted this application, I'm going to pick an application that I submitted an hour ago. So I'm going to pick that up. And here you would see what would happen once I start completing the process. Once all the documents are read, what does the system do from an AI standpoint? It gives me a better highlight view after it started to read all the documents. It resolved some of the findings, but as it pulled credit, it started to give me warnings about a credit profile. So it saw the credit profile is weak, and it starts to give me an AI interpretation of what it means, what the credit profile is really like. Was there a fraud alert? There was some discrepancy in the document. So all of these are warnings that helps me as an underwriter look for certain things already in the documents that the AI has noticed. Going back to the application detail, here you have the application as you had seen before. It has pulled KYB and KYC. I can rerun it if I want, but it'll give me some view on the KYC and KYB for the entity and the guarantors. One thing it has flagged is on the KYB, it has noticed something, it's marked it for review. It's not passed it from an AI standpoint. So I always have the human in the loop going in and doing more work, but it's been flagged for the underwriter. You would see the document analysis. Now for each document, the AI has done some work already in the background. So you can see what the AI has found. It's read the document. It's saying it's a valid bank statement, shows a significant ending balance. So all of these are AI analysis outputs that are available for each document. These can be prompt-based updated. So these are out-of-the-box configurations, but they can be strengthened if you want more specific information during an implementation. You have a bank statement analysis, the bank statements that I uploaded. We have an analyzer that runs. It gives you analysis of the bank statements. You can see certain metrics which are summarized here. And then you can also look at different balances. Now, you will be able to see a monthly view of the balances, and you have the ability to not only look at the transactions, but in case you do find that what the AI has done in terms of categorization needs to be updated, you can go ahead and recategorize it yourself. And once you recategorize, it can make adjustments and show that to you in the bank statement analysis. So you have the ability to override what the AI has done. As Jay suggested, human in the loop, underwriting capability and knowledge can be leveraged at any point of time. We do have integrations with other third-party bank and analyzers like Ocrolus and MoneyThumb, so we can pull in that information and give you more assessments. We have a built-in credit score analysis. This is configurable. For each product, you can define your own credit score analysis to be done, but you can integrate with any other third party to pull in the credit score. We have financial statement analysis as well. The system will read the balance sheet and P&L and give you a very quick summary of different ratios basis the balance sheets and P&Ls that you have done. If you have updated the balance sheet and P&L, if you have added more documents, you can re-trigger the analysis and fire the AI to give you an up-to-date assessment. You can also put up a scorecard of your own. So on the system, for each product, you can define your own scorecard, and the system can then look at the data that's on the application and give you an assessment or a score and define the risks that it sees basis various criteria that you can define. You can define it as financial risk, industrial risk, or credit risk, and see how it measures up on the deal level, but also across deals in that same category. You have other features. You can generate a credit memo from the system basis the data. So it's given you a stock credit memo assessment. It's got information that it pulls onto the system and puts it together in a simple to read format that can be used for your underwriting process. For each of the stages, you have checklists that you can define where you would want to gatekeep certain parameters that you would want to assess before you move on to the next stage. Moving back to the applications, you'll be able to see a very simple difference between the first stage, where you have a salesperson or a lender's view, where the lender collects the information. If the information is missing, you can ask the customer for it, customer or broker. You can click on this saying, I want this document. I don't need to send an email offline. I can have the system send an email out. So once the email ID is configured onto the system, you have it in the application. You can send an email and a text goes out with the link for them to upload, as you had seen in the first stage. Once you have had the underwriter underwrite and approve, you can then submit it for closing, where you have other features and capabilities available, which would be pricing negotiations, making offers onto the system, and you can generate the contracts through integrations with DocuSigns and PandaDocs, and then you can create your funding process and fund it or submit it to a funder. Following a closing checklist, which you can define, you can go ahead and close the deal. And we can walk through that in greater detail. At this point, I would be happy to take any questions, or Jay, I can hand it back to you.
No, it's great, Goggin. Thank you so much. We did have some questions come in through chat, which I have answered on the side. But if there's additional questions, know that the chat functionality is working there, and so you can pop your questions into there. Also, obviously, we will do a follow up. As I mentioned, today's session has been recorded, and we have a couple follow up items that we'll send out. I'll additionally likely send the deck that we reviewed to begin with out as well, and include our security. Portal that we have. It actually lives on our website, but to make it easy access, I'll send that as well, since obviously that's extremely important part of what we're talking about today. Is once you guys do to start to bring this in house, we have to, obviously there'll be conversations there through the security and IT teams and what that looks like. So we'll just kind of get ahead of some of those questions that inevitably you and your teams will get as you decide to walk through this process with us. If there's no outstanding questions or needs, we may go ahead and call today. We appreciate everyone so much for all your time. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you out there at the next conference, and we also obviously look forward to having some one-on-one conversations with the teams as they reach out and we do our follow-up. So thank you guys so much. Thanks for joining Uptick.